Alright, so here is my web proxy. In the main function, we're going to take in two arguments. One of them is going to be the port, one of them is going to be the timeout there. And then after a little bit of setup, we're going to start with a p thread, create this p thread, or these p threads allow us to run multiple clients to the same proxy at the same time. That IP that comes in is going to be the client, or the IP address, basically localhost, and then the port number that we're operating off of. In this case, it could be 1001 or 10001, but we'll get to that in a second. In this, in my pthread create here, we're using a handle request function, so that's where most of the stuff's going to happen, and that begins right here, handle request. We've got a couple different things that our request is actually going to pull out, which is going to be the method, the host name, the protocol that we're using, etc. First thing we're going to do is we're going to receive that request from our client, and then here we're going to, so that's the request that we received. We're going to get the method, the URL, and the protocol out of it. We're going to check and see, make sure that it's a get method. If it is not, then we're just going to kind of kick it out with a return. And then if it's not HTTP 1.0 for the protocol, we will do the same thing, because we only want to operate within those two parameters as long as those are true. So down here, after determining whether or not those are valid, we're going to see if it's in the cache already. If it is in the cache, or if it's if search cache returns true, we just return whatever was in that cache, whatever we found there. And then if that is not the case, we're going to go ahead and pull it down from an actual host site. And in order to do that, first thing we need to do is actually get the host out of it. So this little piece of logic here is to get that host value out, which will print out for us. And then we take that host value and right down here, put it in a host name to IP. It's going to put in the host. We're going to put in a little character array for the IP address, and then it's going to pop out the IP address for us given that host. So www.google.com will give us its IP version 4 address, and it'll print it out right there for us. It'll let us know what host it came from. And here we're establishing a socket for that host, and we're going to connect to that socket right down here. And once we've connected to that socket, we can start receiving from that socket. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to send that request to the host. So if we wanted to, I don't know, Google like dogs or something, we would send that request to Google, and then down here is where we are going to read that content. We're going to read that request back to us, and given the results of that request, we will be able to go ahead and print that out to the client. We're going to send it back to the client. Down here, if the information was not cached, which is the situation we're in, it's going to go ahead and throw that into the cache. And here's where we're sending everything to the client from the server. So the first piece we're going to head into here is the reading content and how that works. It's pretty quick. So here's where we pull in the host by get host by name. Let's see, read content. So we go through line by line. We're going to grab the content with a read line function out of the socket, whatever socket we put in, which in this case will be our server socket. So that's how that works. We're basically just going through, pulling in line by line from that socket that's given it to this, or that's coming from the server, and then we're feeding it to the client. And here is where our cache implementation is. What we have is a struct, which is called value. We got a value itself. We got a hash value, which is going to be whatever's returned from this hashing function, and then we've got a whatever's in it. So that's just named value, and then the kill time, which is the time that the timeout for the cache. Then we initialize that so it's global. Everyone can see it. Here's our hashing function, where we're going to go through and it's going to return an int for us, which is mod 200, just because that's the size of our